Microphones and pens about the activities surrounding the tourism industry. In particular, the Gambia government wants to officially respond to allegations, mostly allegations that were unfounded, about cases of pedophilia, describing the Gambian nation as a pedo paradise. Some weeks ago, in the Sun newspaper of the UK, there was a story that was very scandalous in the estimation of the Gambia government, and the various ministries concerned have decided that they're going to respond fittingly. The Interior Minister, unfortunately, is not here with us because he's attending to other state matters, likewise the Minister of Justice. We have the Minister of Women's Affairs, because pedophilia also, by and large, deals with abuse and misuse of women, particularly girls, and this is why the Honorable Minister, Fatou Kinte Sanyang, is in our midst. She actually was supposed to chair this program, so she's going to take the lead. We have the Honorable Minister of Tourism, who is generous enough to host us, the Honorable Ahmad Bah, who deals with tourism and visitors and travelers, and obviously that also falls under his purview. Likewise, my friend and brother, the Minister of Information, Ibrahim Asila, who deals with communication, infrastructure, dealing with Gambians and people who come to this country. So by and large, the press conference today really seeks to address issues that were discussed and raised in the tabloid, The Sun, as well as Gambians' reaction and other people's reactions. Thank you and welcome to the press conference. So the Honorable Minister is first going to deliver a statement, and thereafter you can start preparing your questions. Thank you so much. I'm sorry I didn't recognize the presence of the Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Tourism. Yeah. This. You can bring some of them. This one has a mic on it. This one too? Yeah. You put it on fly mode, right? Yes. What are the other ones? Oh. Sand. It's okay? I'm sorry. This one?
What about the,
this one?
Yeah, the phones? Somebody will come here.
There are many. Minister, you have enough paraphernalia.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sankare, the government spokesperson, my colleague ministers from Tourism and Information, the former Secretary Minister of Tourism, Mr. Haidara from the Tourism Board, the media, all protocols duly and respectfully observed. You may recall on 16th January 2020, the Sun newspaper published an article, and I quote, "Inside Pseudo Paradise," unquote. The Gambia, where sex beasts are buying African children and toddlers to rape. In the article, the author spoke about Gambian children being sold to British pedophiles for little as $2 a time by their desperate parents, unquote. The article also alleges that sex tourism is already huge in the Gambia. Some bars are like brothels, and I do not worry why more children were lured into prostitution to feed their families, unquote. The moment we received this information, the Technical Committee on Child Protection summoned a meeting, and in that committee, we have people from government as well as the CSOs. And then a press release was placed in major newspapers to dispute this. Following which, as a government, the Ministry of Women's Affairs tourism, interior, and information, as well as the Gambia Tourism Board and other stakeholders, also convened a meeting, and we agreed that we should do something, and a press release was placed in the newspapers. Today's meeting is to, press conference is to give you the government situation, or government stance, as far as this case is concerned. The general public is hereby informed that the article is malicious and based on misinformation and mischaracterization of the facts. The government of the Gambia, as a state party to various international treaties and conventions, most notably the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, which was signed by the government of the Gambia in 1989, the Convention for the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, signed by the government of the Gambia in 1979, and the African Charter on the Rights of Rights and Welfare of the Children, has invested heavily in the promotion and protection of the rights of children in the Gambia. The Children's Act 2005 was also developed as a way of implementing the Convention on the Rights of the Child, which was signed in 1989. And this convention protects all children in the Gambia and places a duty on everyone to report on to either the police or Department of Social Welfare any case of child abuse or the violations of the right of the child that he or she is aware of. This act expressly prohibits sexual abuse or sexual exploitation of a child in any form, or to keep a brothel or allow a child to be in brothels. In addition, the Tourism Offences Act strictly prohibits unlawful sexual advances to a child, procurement of a child for sex, sex pornography, and indecent acts by tourists, among other offences. The government of the Gambia, through the Ministry of Women, Children and Social Welfare, together with the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture, has taken a firm stand against child sex tourism in the Gambia, and measures are in place to protect children, more especially in the tourism sector. The government of the Gambia hereby informs the general public that there is zero tolerance for child abuse or child exploitation, and any person found wanting will face the full force of the law. I thank you very much.
Yes, just to add something to, let me take this opportunity to congratulate and thank the Honorable Minister. Thank the Honorable Minister of Women's Social and Children Affairs, and also the Ministry of Information. Since this article was aired or written in the Sun newspaper, every effort was made to prove that the article was malicious, was done in bad faith, with an intent to destroy the country. And investigations are ongoing as we speak to get to the bottom of it. And I'm sure the Minister of Information will throw light on that. We have an open press in this country. Nobody doubts that. Our record is clear. But we want responsible journalism, not people who are out to destroy a country that is emerging from 22 years of dictatorship. I think the Gambia deserves better. Particularly foreign journalists who are not based in this country, who do not know what we have gone in rebuilding our tourism sector, how many we have suffered the last 2 or 3 years to rebuild the sector. As a country, collectively, all of us came together, including the media. The local media stood very firm in restoring the image of the Gambia, in bringing back the glory that we lost last 22 years. For somebody to come outside, publish a story which is false, malicious, would not go unanswered. That is very clear. We will follow the due process of law to do what is right in protecting this country, protecting the integrity of Gambians, and the image of the Gambia at every level. In as much as we have a free press, people are free to write, we expect people to write what is right. And I think on that note, I will hand over the microphone to my colleague, Mr. Honorable Ibrahim Asila, before we invite questions from members of the media. And I'm sure the Honorable Minister of Women's and Children's Social Welfare will throw light on. Honorable Minister of Information.
Thank you, Honorable Minister of Tourism. I also stand on existing protocol to thank all of you for making it to this important press briefing, jointly organized by the Ministries of Women's Affairs, Tourism, Interior, and also the Ministry of Information, as well as the Ministry of Justice. Because when this particular article first came out, all the sectors actually had a technical meeting to look at the veracity of the story published in the Sun newspaper. A press release was originally issued to debunk the story and the erroneous statements contained in the story. We have also contacted some of the people that were said to have been interviewed, and some of them have clearly told us that they were totally misquoted. For example, the issue of the $2 that Gambian families sell their children, just to get pittance, as was contained in the story, was found out to be a completely false statement attributed to the source, because what we have been told was that small children who normally loiter the tourism development area and are seen to be selling peanuts and other fruits to tourists actually get £2 a day. Not necessarily that they sell their children for £2. And we all know that in this country, parents who suffer to bring up their children, we know how they love their children. And it does not, take a rocket to be a rocket scientist to even know that this is a completely false story, that people in this country sell their children as small as £2, to pedophiles. I think this is a very sad story, that someone claiming to be a journalist, and we have found out that this particular person is even just a a writer, not necessarily a trained journalist. So, as the Honorable Minister of Tourism said, we are doing a forensic test into a lot of issues contained in this story, and we have made personal contacts with some of the sources to verify the veracity of this story, and those investigations will come out hopefully soon, so that we give out an effective response to case by case issues mentioned in the story as a government, because this is not only about the integrity of a government, but also the integrity of a whole population. To assume that people will raise their children and their families only to sell them for £2 to pedophiles to destroy those children, I think is unfortunate that anybody claiming to be a journalist could just even put that one, for people to read and believe. But that is the sad story that we are dealing with, and it is unfortunate that some of the issues that were mentioned in the story started being trending, and before the ministries could come together, we have seen that it has already trended to a lot of areas, although we have issued this press release some 3 or 4 weeks ago, but we thought it wise to come and further brief the media, and we hope the Sun newspaper will be, brave enough to accept a rejoinder from the Gambia government when we have finished with all the facts that we are gathering. And I can tell you that we have gone too far into that, because the story is not only erroneous, but it was done in bad faith. The fact that nobody in the government was contacted, we have a Ministry of Tourism here that is responsible for issues related to the travel industry. We have the Gambia Tourism Board. Nobody was ever contacted, to verify some of those things. We have the Ministry of Justice that in fact has a whole unit that deals with child sex offenses in this country. We have very stringent laws. The fact that all those people were not contacted shows that the story was done in bad faith. But it is our responsibility to also clear the air when these type of things happen, so that, as the Honorable Minister of Tourism said, being a country where, we are a practicing democracy where people can come in and go out, but that does not also mean that they should exploit the hospitality of the Gambian people to the point that certain things are done to completely mislead the public. But we want to thank the media for coming, for making it to this press conference, and to assure that, there is a serious effort going on to properly investigate everything in that particular story and bring it to the attention of the readership and also the general public of the Gambia. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Minister. So now we will proceed with the question and answer session. Excuse me.
I thought it's time for asking questions.
Yes, no.
Somebody's recorder is playing.
Is this one?
Sanko. Who owns it?
Is this one?
You want it back or you want it here? No, it's not the one. Thank you so much. We're going to have a question and answer session. I would crave your indulgence that we make it very simple, one after the other. There's no push and pull, there's no rush. Questions will be answered as adequately as possible. When you ask a question, you try to give chance to your colleagues also to have a chance to ask questions, so that one person cannot just dominate the entire press conference. That's what I was trying to say. So if you want to ask a question, you raise your hand, and then you will recognize, and you can stand or wherever you are seated, so long as you can be heard, and you can identify your name, the institution you represent, and the person you want to answer the question. Go ahead.
My name is Yusuf Taylor from Ganako Online News. My first question is regarding the statements that have been uttered today. Does all this mean that there is no pedophilia happening in the tourism industry in the Gambia? Is that what that is being said? And most importantly, from what has been said, there has been investigations about the allegations. But what about addressing the issue of child protection in the Gambia? How much effort is going on? So that's my first question, which I want to place to yourself, especially. But secondly,
we will deal with that. Then somebody else will ask, and then we'll come back to you later. The basis of your first question is premised on the if condition. Does the Gambia not have pedophilia? Of course we do. There is no society in the world that is free from pedophilia. And this is why we have institutions and ministries to tackle the menace of pedophilia. And this is why we organize this press conference. This is serious business. In America, in England, everywhere in the world, we have tons and tons of cases of pedophilia on a daily basis. In fact, where they are more organized, governments have, because of the resources at their disposal, have even monitoring techniques. You know, that pedophiles in certain areas, even if you are looking for an apartment and you have a history of pedophilia, the neighborhood where you're going to go is notified that Mr. Sankara is coming and he's a known XXX. You know, Gambia, we have already that data. But to sit here and suggest that the Gambia government is going to deny the existence of pedophilia, no, that's not the reason why. The reason why is a newspaper article is out in the Western world that has been polarizing, that is full of misrepresentations, mischaracterizations, factual errors here and there. And the Gambia government feels that this journalist did not do his homework well. He only dealt with a certain segment of society, you know, and never contacted a single government official for verification. And I think as journalists, we try to strike at a balance. I can answer that part of your question. The rest of the question, I think the Honorable Minister of Tourism or the Women's Affairs Minister can handle that.
Can you repeat the question if possible?
Okay. So my question, I think he answered the part that I really wanted.
Ask the other
He
one.
asked that, he answered that. So my question is about the issue of pedophilia in the Gambia. How much research has been done, especially through the relevant authorities, on this issue? Because we're hearing that there is a lot of investigation that has been done about this allegation. But how much investigation has been done about the actual exploitation of children? And to go further, we talk about the laws, that there is a team. The Justice Ministry has a team dealing with this. But how many cases have been convicted of child pedophilia in this country?
Okay, maybe I can partly answer that question. In the Gambia, there's the Department of Social Welfare. It's now under the Ministry of Women, Children and Social Welfare. Some 3 years or 4 years ago, there was a case of pedophile here in the Gambia. The gentleman was arrested and he was imprisoned, following which he was deported out of the country. That shows you that the government is concerned about protecting children's welfare in this country. And any time a pedophile case is reported, action is taken. The issue here is that not many a time people are reported. We know that there's pedophiles in the country, but we cannot pinpoint them or we cannot see here they are in this particular community until it is reported. But once it is reported, the action is taken, as it happened 3 or 4 years ago. And just like Kasankare had alluded, anywhere you go, you find pedophiles. But we are not saying that we should promote pedophiles in this country. Let's remember, here in the Gambia, we have strong religions and traditions. And our behavior is manned by our religion and our traditions. No family will allow their children to go with pedophiles. The pedophiles have access to the children unbeknown to their parents. Many a time they'll come as friends of the family, or friends of the children, and trying to let the parents understand that they're supporting the children with their education. But on the contrary, they are pedophiles. This was how the previous one was located, and he was arrested, and the case went to the courts. So we want to let Gambians know that not everybody who smiles at them is a friend. So let them be very careful that some people are not honest. There are pedophiles coming into this country as tourists, and then we should try every effort and make sure that we protect ourselves and our children. When somebody comes to your home and pretends to be a family friend or a friend of your child, ask yourself the question, why is he a friend to my child? And try to protect the child. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you. We were told that the press conference was started at 1 o'clock, and it started at 2 o'clock. Without no explanation, so that is.
I will respond.
So my question is, Minister Silva, you have stated that there are some children who sell at this side, get $2 and other things. And then I want to know whether you have a government policy to address that. Because those children who have been doing something like at school or somewhere.
Let the GT respond. Haidara, I give you to throw light on that.
The children selling at the tourism development area.
They are enforcing the laws that governs that aspect of it. Let him speak on that.
Thank you.
And you are Mr.
Director General of Tourism Board. They reinforce that.
The mics, please.
There is a law. They reinforces the law.
Maybe you can come here, DJ.
No, you can speak from there. This microphone will catch it. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you.
Speak loud.
Yes,
They are recording everything you're saying.
Here, here.
Leave it there.
No. The journalists want to have precision.
Miss Ibrahim, you cannot move this thing.
There are too many. You gotta move all of them.
It's okay.
They are recording everything you're saying. Quickly on that.
Abdullah, Director General, Gambia Tourism Board. I am sure this is not the first time we discuss these issues of bomb terrorism and the people, children, around the tourism development area. And I'm sure you saw us recently, we have mounted several checkpoints to profile people coming into the tourism development area. And we have been attacked many times why we're doing this. This is exactly the reason why we profile people coming into the tourism development area. In the beginning of the season, we issued those who work in the industry with card, identification cards. And those identification cards must be displayed at all times. If the enforcement people, including the Tourism Security Unit, found you without a card, they have the right to ask you, where are you going and what is your business here? But most often, people take that as Gambians stopping nationalities going to the beach. We are trying to help protect and enforce the law. It is an offense, as the Honorable Minister has stated, in the Tourism Offences Act to be involved in any forms of sexualism, being pedophiling or sex tourism. The law does not allow that. So that's why we put up a very strong enforcement team together with a full battalion called Tourism Security Unit to help us and the entire country to protect our children and vulnerable people that work in the tourism industry.
Let me also say something. It's not answered. Ask it again. We have a policy. We have a policy. We have a law that reinforces that policy.
The policy informs the law.
Let me also.
There's already an act called Tourism Offences Act. This act did not come out of the blues. It came from the government policy on tourism and tourism offences. So that's the answer.
Let me tell you something that you may not know or you know you don't want to say. Less than 18 years, nobody is allowed who is not a guest of any hotel to enter any room. This in the act. You are not allowed, no matter what. Before we do it, it must go through a process for you to be allowed to enter. And 99 out of all the chances you are not allowed to enter any room. And that shows that this is a responsible government that protects its citizens, its children, that does not want anybody to be affected because of tourism. As the honorable ministers have said, the article was done in bad faith. It was calculated to destroy this country. Probably the person who wrote it had his own agenda. We are working on him too. We are gathering some facts on him, and we got something. And this thing will not be laid to rest. It will be the last time somebody would just wake up and write something evil about our country and get away with it. We will not get it done. We will not let it go like that. We are working. All our security agents have been put on task to get to the bottom of this article, and we'll take the appropriate course in addressing it.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. My name is Alali Koli from West Coast Radio, and my question goes to Honorable Ba. You said the laws are there, and they are being enforced. But given the factors of what is happening, why are we seeing children, street beggars? Why are we seeing children around the tourism area if the laws are being enforced? My second question is, in the story it has been indicated that Thomas Cook bankruptcy has led to 60% loss of business. Is that true? And because of Thomas Cook bankruptcy, the crime rate has increased in the Gambia and sex tourism has increased. Is it true?
Mr. Colley, that is not true. That's a lie. He does not have any scientific facts to back up his story. Yes, we understand Thomas Cook affected our arrivals, but it did not reduce our number of arrivals compared to 2018, 2019. We are going to release the figures by the end of March. But it has affected our tourism. We dropped in numbers. But that is not the reason to justify the story, the malicious story that the gentleman wrote on the Sun newspaper. Not true at all.
And is it true, is because of Thomas Cook bankruptcy, the rate of, child sex abuse has increased around our tourism?
It's not true because he does not have any scientific facts to back him up. That's just a mere allegation that was intended to justify his malicious article that he wrote against the Gambian people and the Gambian government at large.
How about the pictures and the people that he...
These pictures are no guarantee they are from Gambia. In fact, we are establishing that too. The forensic experts are working on that. 99% of these pictures are not in the Gambia. That much I can tell you. It was intended to destroy this country, and it was a job he was doing. Wherever he was doing that job, inshallah, he will be exposed. It's nothing, those pictures have nothing to do with this country. That much I can tell you. An investigation is ongoing. And Mr. Colley, let me also tell you, criminalism is all over the world. We cannot say we don't have criminals in this country. Nobody can provide 100% for your citizens. Not even the richest countries in the world. We'll always have people who are disadvantaged. And they will always find a way of earning their living. They may not be as committed as you are, working as a journalist, toiling to feed yourself. They may be different, trying to earn their living in a different manner. And we have them everywhere in the world. Why should you single out the Gambia?
Mr. Hedra wanted to ask.
Why should you single out the Gambia in justifying that article because people are unemployed? There is unemployment everywhere in the world. That's totally false. Yes?
Yeah. Thomas Cook's contribution to our tourism arrival was about 27%. So it collapsed cannot amount to 60% loss. And Thomas Cook, it is only Thomas Cook UK that has collapsed. The Thomas Cook's Holland, Thomas Cook's Nordics are in operation. And the total Thomas Cook group arrival to the destination is 27%. Each collapse then with only UK arrival cannot amount to 60%.
So,
what I wanted to clarify.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to respond to the question raised by Abdul Koli regarding the children beggars. That has nothing to do with the collapse of Thomas Cook. Because from time immemorial, we have been seeing Al-Mudus in the Gambia. These Islamic scholars who migrate from Senegal to the Gambia. And then we are doing quite a lot of work with UNICEF to see how to manage it. Especially when you go to the border villages like Farafenye and the rest, and Soma, for example, you see a lot of them. It has nothing to do with the collapse of Thomas Cook. Thank you very much.
My question should have gone to you because yesterday I was at the Karam border and I saw children, street beggars, coming from the neighboring country to our border. I mean, does your military have plans to combat such kind of issues? But they are not from the Gambia.
Yeah, as I've said, we have a program funded by UNICEF, and in which we are working with our partners in Senegal to address the issue. It's a concern. Yeah, it's a concern because most of them are unaccompanied. And then because they come to Gambia to beg, many people mistake them for Gambians. And then we cannot continue allowing them to come to Gambia to beg. But the best thing is that those children also have a right to get them back to Senegal and make sure that they go, either go to their families or go to the people that are teaching them to learn the Quran. We all know that they come from some of these Marabu homes and then they cross the borders into Gambia to beg. But something is being done about that under the program called Children on the Move. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Madam, can you wait, please? Go ahead, madam.
Good afternoon. I am Louise S.A. Alsana, freelance journalist currently writing for Gainako. And my question goes to the Honorable Minister for Information. I want to know when will the two radios, be reopened? And what law exactly did they violate for their closure?
Before the judiciary.
Well, I mean, it's a matter before the judiciary. I don't want to comment on that, as I said several times. I wish I know the answer to the question. But what I can tell you is that since we are here for, a press conference to clarify a number of issues related to this particular story, I would rather like to stick myself to that particular issue.
Yes, I would like to direct.
Can you identify yourself?
Yes, I'm Keba Ansumane. I work for the Police Agency. I would like to know because the Honorable Minister of Tourism has mentioned that the investigations are on. I would like to know whether the government has been in contact with some newspaper who published the story, and if you are in contact, what is their response to you after the story has been published? I would also like to know what is holding the Tourism Offences Act to come on board, because we understand there should be a tribunal set with a magistrate. What is holding that in order to combat some of the menace that are currently going on in the industry? Thank you.
Well, regarding the investigation, what I can tell you is that our government has deployed several mechanisms. One is to look at the veracity of the story itself, also to look at the sources that certain statements were attributed to know exactly whether those statements came from them, and also to engage some journalists with capacity to do what they call forensic examination of statements published by newspapers to know whether some of them are made up. Because any journalist with capacity can sometimes see a story and you know that really there are missing links. And also, I mean, we are also engaging other people to look at the pictures themselves, whether there are archives, I mean, incidents of those pictures that are published. Because, sometimes people can, have certain pictures taken from a website or somewhere, and then you attribute it to a particular country. If you also do, even if sometimes you can also take a picture and then you do a precision location on the picture, and it can all, technology can sometimes help you with those things. So, I mean, the security are also looking at a number of issues in this particular story. Hopefully, I mean, very soon, all those things will come to light.
The tourism offense, let me answer on that.
Tourism offense.
The tourism.
No, we've not reached that.
We don't want to disclose this. The investigation ongoing and no disclosure.
Yes.
What I can tell you is, the Tourism Offence Act is being implemented, is enforced. A law is a law. Any other magistrate or judge can enforce that law.
There's a sitting magistrate.
We wanted to fast track so that when people commit these offences, the cases are dealt with before they go back when they are tourists or whoever they are.
24 hours.
And that's why government came up with a magistrate fix, so that when there is a case, you don't need to recall somebody to come to attend a case and then you pay for an air ticket. And that's why this has happened since in the 80s. I remember very well. And we used to get people to fly them to come and attend court cases. And that's why government came up with the Tourism Offences Act and decided to deploy a magistrate so that immediately a case happens, the case can be tried expeditiously to resolve it. So it's happening.
Yeah, can I add? I just want to say that in addition to what you have said, in all the police offices and police headquarters, there is a gender and child welfare unit. So once a case is reported, automatically it's taken up and the magistrate is contacted. This is just to avoid a delay in dealing with the cases. It also shows that the concern the government has in protecting the rights of the child.
A small girl. I like that small girl. Small girl. Give me the small girl there.
It's okay. I mean, my name is Samson Janko. I'm for West African Democracy. You've categorically denied the story.
100%. Not only categorically.
And then the information minister said that investigations are ongoing. Now my question is, you said nobody will write a story of this sort against the Gambia again. Are you willing to go as far as pushing a legal?
Whatever it takes, we'll do it as a government to protect our country. Thank you.
Madam, can you ask?
Good afternoon. I am Aisha Tujana from Gambian Talents TV. Honorable Ministers, the issue of unemployment is a big concern for the youth of this country. For the past few months, we have had several engagements with the youth of Bara, and they expressed frustration of how the government issued several licenses to foreign fishermen who took up over their jobs. According to them, Bara does not have any other source of employment besides fishing, which is now dominated by the Senegalese and Western fishermen, who don't comply with the license that you gave them. Last week, this University of the Gambia graduated hundreds of people from different areas. That is different from other graduates or dropouts from other schools or tertiary institutions. GTP offers an internship program that only accepts 15 at a time. but we barely have less than 100 applications sitting on our desk every given time, which shows how the youth...
Are you reading a statement or are you making a question?
No, I want to show you the issues that are happening in the country. I want to base them on fact, right? So
I cannot remember all this because it's difficult.
Okay.
Because you are reading a statement.
All right, no problem.
I want an answer. Give me ask a question, I give you an answer.
Okay.
If you read a statement, you are confusing me and confusing yourself.
Okay, no problem.
Excuse me, please. I think specifically, you want to know whether it is true.
I want to...
No, hold on, please. I will listen to you. Specifically, your question is whether it is true, the allegation from the people of Bara, where I grew up, I'm from there.
Not Bara alone.
I know, you know, yes.
Issues.
Yes, I know.
No, about this tourism, because
specific issue is specific issue. The specific issue is licenses given to foreign fishermen. That is one of the questions you asked.
And the rate of unemployment.
Unemployment.
I know, but that is one of your problems. Whether that is true, that Gambia government issues licenses to foreign fishermen at the expense of Gambian citizens. And two, there is rocketing unemployment among the youth.
And a lot of people brag about their old tubab as husband or wife. So, because of they are desperate. So what is your government doing about the high rate of unemployment, which is the fundamental reason for all these tax tourism allegations that we are talking about here?
Let me comment here, Honorable, government spokesperson. I think your question is more of a statement, but I will tell you, I'll give you what our government position is. First of all, I forgot to answer to Mr. Jallo. Our being late to start was because we are involved in another community meeting that was to deal with people that has been lingering for about 3-4 years that we inherited as a government, and we felt that it has to be resolved, and we are resolving that issue. And we cannot control people who came all the way from the provinces and tell them to get out because we want to meet the journalists. We felt the journalists will be a little bit more patient. We addressed those who came all the way from the provinces and then engage you. So it was done in good faith. We did not deliberately keep you there waiting. We were engaged in something else that was dealing with people who crossed all the way from different long distance to come and see us to resolve an issue that was lingering the last 5 years. Just for your let me tell you that every government in the world faces unemployment and underemployment. We are no exception to that. We know that we inherited broken institutions. We inherited an agriculture that have disappeared, an industry, tourism that was destroyed, a fishing industry that was damaged, a country that was seriously battered internationally in terms of its image. Investors ran away from this country. Their investment was being seized left, right, and center. We are aware of that. To restore that, and an economy that was broken, we inherited debts to GDP over 130%. We inherited. We had only 1 month of import cover at the time. Our currency was fluctuating left, right, and center. It was our responsibility to stabilize that. And what we did was first to stabilize the economy, give the people, give them the courage and the confidence to come and reinvest in the Gambia and make sure that we create necessary jobs. We engage the EU. We have the 11 million euro to train our youths in terms of entrepreneurship development, our women, and make sure that the value chain within the agricultural sector, we try to train our people, and we make sure that the produce of our farmers was bought on time, and we make sure that we created a lot of jobs within the construction industry. We created jobs within the tourism industry, which was almost dead, and we make sure that our youths are trained. The training you're talking about, the National Tourism Expansion Program, which the government of the Gambia is doing through the Gambia Tourism and Hospitality Institute, training youths of country so that they can manage those facilities that are being developed throughout the country. The Gambia Tourism Board is on the verge of constructing 4 eco camps throughout the country, and other investors have been encouraged to invest in the provinces with a lot of facilities, a lot of incentive. And our governance portfolio is next to nothing. It's one of the best today in the world. Everybody knows about that. The image of this country, what the government of the Gambia have done internationally, how recognized we are, how respected we are. We believe that unemployment is not a one-day solution. It's an issue that a government must be committed to work on, and that's what this government is doing. We are aware of our youths who have gone in thousands by the back way in Europe, who are to be deported. We are negotiating with the EU to safeguard the interests of our citizens wherever they are, protect them, defend their interests, support them with the little resources that we have. We are aware of our infrastructural development, that with this country how it was abandoned. Today, the number of roads we have constructed have not been done the last 20 years, within the last 3 years. And we intend to do what has not been done before the end of the 5 years. Roads that have not been built for the last 50-something years will be done in the next 3 years. We believe we are doing more than what people expected. Although we cannot stop our critics from criticizing us, today we have brought the GDP debt to 80-something%, from 130 to ratio to GDP. And our dollars have stabilized. We've all witnessed that. And we've seen today how respected Gambians are and the Gambia internationally. That's what I have to tell you.
Yes. Can I just add something? Chairperson, I just want to I just want to add that unemployment cuts across the world. There's no country which doesn't have unemployment. But here in the Gambia, there are many ways that we are trying to tackle the issue of unemployment. Adding to what Honorable Baha said, we are all aware that we have the Techifi project, which is also supported by the EU. And we have the Techifi project, which is supported by EU. And in the North Bank, there is the Chairman Self-Help Development Center, where young people are trained on livelihood skills. And on Saturday, quite a good number of young people also graduated from the skill center. And in Bakote, there's also another skill center where young people, male and female, are trained on livelihood skills so that they can be gainfully and self-employed. And in addition, recently we just launched the Small Women Project, and the headquarters of that project is going to be in the YBK in CRR. That project is also going to engage a lot of young people so that they can be self-employed. A lot of efforts are being done by government to make sure that our young people are fully engaged. But let me make it very clear that it will be very difficult to do away with unemployment. In fact, across the world, there is no country where there's no unemployment. But we are doing a lot of effort to make sure that our young people are fully engaged. Thank you very much.
On the fishing license, let me comment on that. We as a government believe in our people. And we believe in the youths of this country, their desire to make and participate in national development. We have a series of projects that we have floated and allowed Gambians to participate in it. And majority of them are in it. You're only citing one area. You talked about an area called Bara, of which there's an allegation that you have raised. We need to check that information with the Ministry of Fisheries to verify the information, because people have a right to make their allegation. But in most cases, it's always important to contact the line ministry. But also, let me also tell you, historically, this country, our youths need to rebuckle up. We have Tanje, government spent a lot of money there, Gunjur, many of these areas. When there is Tobaski, virtually you have no fish, because the fishermen and women who are there mostly come from outside. And if you realize some of them, the boats they are using belongs to Gambians. We are given to them on contract by the government of the Gambia. But the foreigners come and do the fishing. And when there is Tobaski, they all go for Tobaski or Christmas or events. You find no fish there, because they will tell you that the foreigners have come. We've seen Gambians who have invested in the fish industry, and they lost a huge amount of money because our own people will not support them. And we know of situations where we as a government, we try to encourage our youth to say, come on board, here is the fishing net, here is the boat, go and do fishing, let's support the community. Look, as a nation, we all must collectively come together. No single individual, no person can develop the country other than us as Gambians. Whilst we are on tour, went to Berendi, we saw Gambians, women, particularly toiling. What they told us was, look, foreigners, I don't want to name countries. Foreigners come here, they make 3 million, 4 million CFA. The journalists were there. These are not Gambians. Our Gambian brothers are drinking attire there. One Gambian came and said, I made on one period, $186,000 on one seedling, tin of seeds. guana, pepper.
Pepper.
He said, I made 186,000. This day I'm growing five. Some of them makes $1 million there. These foreigners, within 3 months, they make 3-4 million CFA, they go back and leave the country. Our own people will be sitting and watching. Why can't we take the bull by the horn, some of us? Now some people have volunteered. They are there. The women are there now, saying we are there, we are going to do it for ourselves. You journalists, some of you were present when they are explaining their ordeal, what was happening. I think also we need to re-educate our youths about what we call development. Development has to be holistic. Somebody talks about thousands of university graduates, hundreds. How many of them are scientists? Tell me, how many of them are engineers? What do you find there? Art students. If you all study economy, who will build the economy? The economy you are going to study, somebody must build it. The journalist has to do something. The engineer must do something. The architect must do something. But if all of you want to go and be lawyers, be accountants, what are you going to account for? I think we also have to train our men. And that's why the government of the Gambia is now giving scholarship to students who want to study science, technology, that will develop this country. Europe, other countries are developed because they have the scientists. They have the engineers. But for us, everybody wants to be in the office. You know, some journalists who want you suffer when you go, you see it, how hard it is, because that's the profession you have chosen. Some people don't want to suffer that. They want to stay home, be in air-conditioned offices only to enjoy and then start making noise every day. While some people are there as engineers, technicians working. Here, hardly you can find, today, hardly you can find, if you want masoners, you have to import them. You have to import them. You are paid $400 a day. How many of us add $400 a day here in this room?
The Faraba project.
$500 a day for a masoner. And our people will not want apprenticeship. They will stay 6 months and tend to believe that you are a qualified masoner, when you need to take 1-2 years to be there. Our youths need to change. Some of them need to change their mentality toward profession. You don't build a profession overnight. Some of you, it took you 2 years, 3 years to be journalists of the best type. It's not overnight. You can even read it from the books, but you cannot be a master in it until you have the practice and you work on it. I think that we must also accept. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Sanajay from Paradise TV. Okay, my question is about the investigation. It's been after 3 or 4 weeks now since this article was published in the Sun newspaper. The government sent a release to refute the claims that what was published in the article was not true. One would have expected that this press conference would actually be the outcome of whatever the government finds out. But coming back again, telling us that we are reporting at this time the investigation has been away. When are we going to expect the outcome of these investigations?
Can I answer that? We are investigating. You cannot push us. We want the facts to get to the process at the end of it. And nothing will push us to get to where we want to go when we don't have the facts. We are working on it, and we meant it. Seriously, we meant it. You have a judiciary that you must make sure when you go to court, your facts are right. And we will challenge this nationally and internationally. And there is no joke about that. So we are not rushing our investigation. We want to do it diligently, rightly, so that when we get there, we get what we want.
Yes, sir. Yes, good afternoon to you all. I am Usman Imaro, correspondent Mamus TV, and also a blogger. My question, I would like to direct it to the Honorable Minister.
Minister of where?
Okay. A Norwegian pedophile who was serving a jail sentence in Mile 2 was pardoned last year during the corrected prayers. He was pardoned during the corrected prayers. During the corrected prayers, yes. And if a Gambian commits such crimes in a foreign country, he will never be freed. Why should the Justice Minister recommend such convict foreign criminals to be released?
Refer the question to the Minister of Justice. I have no answer for it. Next.
My question will go to the tourism minister or
I've not seen you for a long time. You disappeared.
Yes, I'm around.
Okay,
So
good.
the question is going by all the conventions and all the laws that have been put place by the government in COVID Sexual Offences Act. I want to understand from a layman point of view, when we say sex tourism, what does the government perceive or term to be sex tourism, and who is a sex tourist? That's what I want to understand.
Thank you very much.
And secondly,
you have another one?
We'll go to Minister of Women and Children Affairs. You made mention of government has invested heavily in protecting the rights of children in this country. But will you not admit to the fact that...
Can you help this colleague to have a seat, please? I don't, it's unfair that, come and take this. Sit down. Everybody's...
Controlling my mind.
Yeah, but come here.
Sexual offenses regarding tourism. I'll give you a report and an instance. Last year, in 2018, year before last, there was an to the Interior Ministry, there was an advisor attached to the Interior Ministry, and he's a French national. He's young, and allegations came out sometime in 2018 that he allegedly had criminal knowledge of a minor in Panama. And when the news came out, the man was arrested, and the police, he was given a bail. And then the police were investigating the matter and referred it to the Ministry of Justice for advice. And the ministry investigated and found that there was prima facie evidence that existed in the allegation. And they referred it back to the Interior Ministry. But then when we took up the matter with the Interior Ministry, they said, yes, even though there is prima facie evidence in this matter, we forwarded it to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs because it entails diplomacy. And the Gambia and France enjoy strong bilateral ties. So then when we went to the Foreign Affairs, we were led to know that there was no report of such at that ministry. And when we get back to the Interior, he said, no, they must have mistaken, but the report is there. That's where it stops. So we want what action has been taken on that aspect.
Okay, let me address this one first, before I address the tourism.
Thank you very much. Just as Honorable Minister of Tourism said earlier, I think the best person to answer the question should come from Ministry of Interior
exactly.
or
He's
or
not, he was
Affairs.
supposed to be.
That's not my ministry.
I'm saying, we do not admit to the fact that the government of the Gambia has not done anything.
No, you will not admit. Who not admit?
With the exception of one case.
No, you will not.
No person has been prosecuted in sexual offense.
No admission.
No, but the point here is that there has to be a report of such an offense before action can be taken. And again, there has to be evidence.
I'm giving you one instance.
No, in this particular instance, that's your story that I've heard, and I'm referring you back to Interior Ministry or Foreign Affairs. I cannot answer the question. But as far as sexual offences are concerned, there has to be a report and there has to be evidence before the right legal actions can be taken. One thing is clear. Any person found wanting will face the consequences of the law. Because we have to understand that there's a Sexual Offences Act and a Domestic Violence Act here in this country. So anybody found wanting will face the consequences. But again, one has to report, and there has to be evidence. If there's no report, there's no evidence, it will be difficult for action to be taken against the perpetrator.
Do you have the scientific capacity to conduct and to bring out evidence in crimes related to sex offenses?
Of course, yes. The Ministry of Health can help us with that. And then when there's evidence, the action will be taken against the perpetrator.
In fact, I'm going to give a particular instance. About 3 weeks ago, there was a case, some burglars who went to a building, and then not only did they break into the building, but they also allegedly raped 2 ladies they found in that building. I was there at the anti-crime unit when the culprits were apprehended and taken to a nearby clinic for forensic examination. DNA tests are now global. Yes, if there are allegations of rape or touching or canal knowledge, as you called it, the Gambia government, poor as we are in terms of our technology compared to the Western world, we now have the capacity, even at the MRC, to verify whether the semen collected from the pants of an alleged offender are actually consistent with those found in the alleged victims' pants. So that is true. But then the suggestion really that out of one case that the Gambia government to give you tacit approval of its incapacity or its non-compliance in tackling these people head-on, I think would be really misplaced, out of one case, ordinarily. And particularly a case that is based on he said, she said, I went to Interior said this. No, Justice said this. No, Foreign Affairs said this.
These are government offices.
No, I know they are government. Yeah, but we're hearing this story from a third party. If we were to have the Minister of Justice here, it is highly likely that his statement would be different from yours. Not that you are lying, not that he is lying, but this is just, human nature. So until we have concrete evidence to the contrary, it will be wrong for anybody here that yes, the Gambia government is this or is that, based on one particular case.
This is a case that we
follow it up subsequently. Let him follow it up subsequently.
Yeah, I was just trying to help you in terms of saying whether you
Now,
have the capacity.
let me answer on the issue of what is sex tourism. Sex tourism is totally misinterpreted in this country. Prostitution, relationship between two people, be they men and men or men and women or women to women. The issue of people going together, when you see it happen, you call it sex tourism. It's not sex tourism. And that's why when you are taken to court for saying sex tourism in the Gambia, you will be convicted. It doesn't exist in this country. Prostitution, you talk about it, I will not deny that. As I always say, it's the oldest profession in the world. Yes, you like it or not, it is. Now, what I want to tell you is, sex tourism is where the state sanctions sex for people who come as tourists to enjoy sex, be they men or women. They are organized in centers and they are managed and licensed and inspected medically. And people who come for that go to those centers to make the choice of their partners and pay for money for that. And the state sanctions that. Respect those centers because they are licensed, they are organized, and it is advertised for sex tourism. Fortunately for us in this country, there is nothing like that. As the Honorable Minister of Women's, Children, and Social Welfare said, we are a country that lives and believes in religions, governed by our traditional values, our convention, our norms, our folklores. Is part of our practice. So for somebody to insinuate that we have sex tourism in the Gambia is one of the most malicious, most misleading statements for anybody to say. If you write to say you have prostitution anywhere in the world, who am I to tell you that there are no prostitutes in the Gambia? Who am I to tell you that? But if you are doing sex for money, yes. But if you are doing sex for pleasure, can that be called prostitution? Do you know what brings that sex partners together? Is it by pleasure or by money? Can you prove that again? See, these are things that have a lot of legal implications. There is no sex tourism in this country. This government doesn't sanction it. The government will not accept it. It's not part of our tradition. It's not part of our religion. It's not anything part of this society. That's what I want to tell you. That we have nothing like sex tourism.
I have two questions. The first one is, you said the story was false and malicious, but we understand that the story is still online and is a way in Snapchat to determine when the photos or pictures are fake or not. And we have
not fake, not from Gambia.
But
there may be pictures from another country, but not from our country. Not from our country. Not the pictures are not from the Gambia. That much I can assure you.
Okay. Anyway, the story is still online.
Yes, it's online. I will work with our partners towards that. Okay. Thank you for telling us.
Okay. And so far, the question is: do you think that, as Minister of Tourism, this story can tarnish the image of the country? And what impact would it have?
That was the intention of the writer, and God will not accept him to succeed. The Gambians stand firm, including you, the media, to deny this story, to say it's false, it's not true, it was malicious, it was intended to destroy our country, and you will stand by your country, all of us together. So it will not succeed.
Mr. Ba, so what has been the extent of the damage?
No, I'm the chairperson, no.
No, I'm just making a...
Can you go ahead? No, go ahead. You have a question, go ahead. Yes, yes, go ahead.
Okay, my name is Sarah Nyai from BOD Media. My question perhaps will go, is a question and a feedback to the Minister of Women and Welfare. Perhaps this is a wake-up call for Gambia in terms of the headline, which we denied as false and malicious. I'm just wondering what is your department doing in terms of, because a lot of people in the Gambia don't even know the term pedophilia. And I think this is a wake-up call for your ministry or the government to find a way of perhaps educating the vulnerable. I'm concerned about the vulnerable children and women. Instead of waiting for them to report a case, what is your ministry doing to sensitize and to encourage them to come out and to recognize what the pedophilia is? It's even in the homes, not just in the Senegal, the states, or anywhere. That's the question.
Okay, thank you very much. I mentioned in my statement that the moment this article came out, the Technical Committee on Children's Rights was summoned a meeting. And then at that meeting, a press release was drafted. In addition, there's also a work plan developed, which includes a state of sensitization, of sensitizing communities and individuals on sex tourism, on pedophilia, so that they'll know that not every person who comes to the home, who pretends to be a friend, is not a friend. So they'll be able to protect their children and be able to report cases when a case occurs. So there's a lot of work to be done, and the work plan spans from this year to 2021. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead. Hold on 1 second, please. I am the chairperson. No, hold on, please. Please. No, just hold on, please. At least, I think when we started, everything here is live. The whole world should look up to the Gambia as people who are well behaved, you know, who are organized. When we began, I appealed to everybody. I said, let us be organized, let us be civil. I'm the chairperson here. I have given you a chance. You asked 2, 3 questions put together. They were jumbled up, no problem. See, ask questions. You are both from the same level. In fairness, colleague just wanted to ask and I stopped you. So why would I ask you, give you a chance and then forget about these people? You know, please.
I'm raising up my hand. I'm not interjecting. As you
can you ask me?
In your statement.
Can you? I never used the word interject. Yes.
Raising up my hand.
My name is Abdullah John. I'm a Associate Press reporter. I do file story for Freedom Newspaper and Care News. Well, child sex abuse is a global problem. And even in 2005, UNICEF issued a report on that, decrying the law of silence surrounding this issue. At that time, I was even trying to work on a story, but it was very difficult to get statistics about child sex abuse. So we know that Gambia is a tourist destination. Do you have plans to set up what is that will help you to track down sexual predators that are coming in?
To track the predators. A tracking system. For
yes, let me come on that.
Offenders.
Yeah, let me come on that. You see, as the Ministry of Tourism work closely in touch with the Ministry of Interior, we normally exchange information at every level in terms of that level through Interpol and many other systems. We cannot reveal all that before the world as we speak on this issue. But be rest assured that the Interior Ministry is working very closely with some of the other agencies, security agencies internationally, because they have been profiled all over the world. In fact, wherever they go, they are easily noticed. But as the Minister of Women's Affairs have said, sometimes they lull people in the issue of being a friend of your family, not knowing, as the madam was saying, there is a need to educate people more about it and tell them more about so that they are easily detected before they can do any harm. And I think collectively, all of us together, if we work together, we should be able to get there. Because your child, my child, anybody's child need to be protected. So it is not only government responsibility, but even us as citizens, we also owe it to ourselves to educate our children, to inform them, and to talk about these issues. Yes.
Yes, Mr. Sankari, you told us that there is a pedophilia everywhere in the world. Absolutely. Yes, it's true. But the story is people from abroad come to Gambia for pedophilia. Is it true or not?
There may be people whose actual intention is to come here as tourists. There's no doubt about that. However, if a person goes to the Gambian embassy in Washington or in Paris and he wants to come here as a tourist, he is vetted and he's issued a visa. The ambassador or the consular officer at the embassy in Washington or in Paris, is not, he doesn't have 7 senses to know that the person going to Gambia is a potential pedophile. When he comes to this country, and he begins to do what his actual intention was, not be a tourist but as a pedophile, it is the people who work in the hotel industry, the tourism board, and the officers on ground who should be monitoring and investigating these kind of people. Even in the most sophisticated systems, like your own system, these things happen. Does the French government condone pedophilia? Absolutely not. Does the British condone it? Absolutely not. Does the Americans condone it? Absolutely not. Do they exist? Absolutely. So we are faced with the same problem. They come here pretending to be tourists and they indulge in pedophilia. But that doesn't mean that the Gambian government actually, there is a tacit approval by the Gambian government that the Gambian government sanctions pedophilia. We don't. And this is why we're doing this press conference, to reveal the story, and then show the falsity of it all, that it was malicious. Yes.
Yusuf Taylor, I'm very grateful for the second opportunity.
For the third opportunity. Based on my counting of the question. Go ahead. Yes.
But I think
he's from where?
Here, all of us
he's from Guyana, you said
that the government does not or will not sanction child tourism, sex tourism. What we're questioning is the amount of work that is done, that the responsibility that the government has to combat this menace. This is why I want to reinforce the question that my colleague said. My question is there currently a child offenders list? And is the government, how often do we coordinate with Interpol? Is it every 2 weeks that we coordinate with Interpol? So when anybody who is coming in as a tourist, it's flagged up. We know, so, and then we can do something. You can either monitor with your TSU, etc., etc.
Can I answer the question? Yes, the police are doing that, but will not give you details.
Okay.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. My name is Lamin Fal. I am working for Paradise TV. My question goes to the Director General of Gambia Tourism Board.
He's not part of the press conference. He's only facilitator. Ask us the question. Ask us the question.
My question is not related to the sex tourism.
No, whatever is related, address the minister.
It is still within the
no, address the ministers. If we need to tell him to answer, we'll tell him.
Okay.
Address the question.
So my question is, we've received allegations that tourists visiting Judiciary do sign vouchers meant for payments for coming into the community. The community have alleged that they've not been receiving this money, which is meant to be collected by the GT board since an agreement was made. Is this true? And if yes, where is the money?
Thank you. This was one of the reasons we had this meeting this morning, to resolve these issues. They have clarified to the press, they never said Duty Board owed them money or has stolen their money. They said they never told anybody that story. What they said was they had vouchers, they cannot collect the money. We have told them what to do with those vouchers. If the vouchers are lying there, GT Board cannot help them to collect the money from the tour operators. GT Board is not owing them. It is the ground tour operator and tour operator who owe them. We have now asked them this afternoon, to bring the vouchers to GT Board, for GT Board to help write to the tour operators to pay them their money. It's resolved.
First time question,
This one.
Who is here who hasn't asked a question?
Mr. Coley.
He asked a question. He asked a question.
I did not block it. Coley.
Yes. So I wanted to know whether the Ministry of Tourism and GT Board are concerned with the high volume of foreign nationals buying compounds around the TDA area. Because there are allegations that some of these issues going on, they had a hand in the promotion of it. So I don't know whether GT Board has put up any mechanism to know the activities of these people in relation to what is going on.
The allegation is who has a hand in it?
Well, what I'm saying is...
No, who has a hand in it?
Yeah, whether these people, because there are allegations that they are contributing Who? No,
foreigners?
some of the tourists who have been coming here and now they have compounds here, they will spend 6 months here and they go back, they spend 6 months there. So most of the time they are staying in our local communities and they directly link with these people, with the local people. And then there are suspicions that some of these pedophile activities are being promoted by them. Whether the ministry is aware of them. Also, my second question, I want to direct that to the Honorable...
You have had 8 questions since we started.
Okay. To the Honorable Minister for Women and Children Affairs. If you go to Farakanye and most of these places, you see a lot of animals, who are going in the town, probably disturbing the peace of people, because travelers, they will come, when you stop with your people, they will approach you, not about demanding money and rules. That this is naked, everybody is seeing. I don't know whether, because you said you had been working with UNICEF to address what are some of the success stories that you can share.
Let me help you before
as far as this matter is concerned.
Let me answer both questions and then she will come and add light to the if she so wishes. Number one, the information you just mentioned, some people doing this, came to our attention a couple of years ago, that people are coming here renting houses, or people are renting houses to direct travelers who are coming to stay on holidays. When we got that information, we instructed the GT board to immediately close all those houses. Anybody who's renting your house without a license, you have to pay the state the tax. You have to be licensed to operate it. And that measure is in place. Because people were just taking their houses, they were putting in the internet that they have a house to rent, and somebody books it and come without being registered. We've stopped that. We make sure that you are licensed. We make sure that you pay all your taxes due before you operate anywhere. And most of them have been closed. There may be few still existing that is and they buy properties and they come here to stay. And we are a free, democratic, free economy that everybody comes to participate and to be part of. If somebody wants to live in the Gambia and buy a home, does not mean that you are bad. There are some very good people who love this country and have migrated to the Gambia. And they're doing very well in business. Some are living with our communities. But as I said, everywhere you go, you have a few bad eggs. Let me go back to my point. It's our joint responsibility, particularly the press, to expose those that are engaged in that. The authorities will not hesitate a minute to act on anybody who is involved in anything that geared toward destroying our society. On the issue of Almudus are not only Senegalese. Gambian Almudus are going to Senegal and being deported. A lot of our children from Nyoro, from other places, I see them in Kungel. When I travel, I see them in Tamba. These are Gambian children. I see some of them last year were even deported from Kafring back to my village. They went there as Almudus. So it's a cross-border thing. As Gambians come here, go there, Senegalese, Guinea-Bissau also bring their Almudus here. They also run into Senegal Almudu. Senegal has a very strict policy on this Almudu issue, as the Gambia has. So that's why they try to use cross-border issue. From the Gambians will go to Senegal, Senegal Marabu who try to sneak them, Guinea-Bissau also try to sneak them in. So it's a problem, as he said. It's not unique to the Gambia. It's a cross-border issue that people do. So this concept of Almudus, we all have to work collectively to educate. I have gone through it. I've been an Almudu in my life. I know what being Almudu is. You understand? I was an Almudu. You know, begging for food at night. You know, going at night with a pot, starting to beg for food. When you bring the food, the elders will eat the food and give you a little bit out of it. And you are the one who went to beg for it. It's not an easy life. It's not an easy life, but it's a cross-border thing, really. So it's not unique to Senegal or Gambia or Guinea-Bissau. It's everywhere. So we just have to work as UNICEF is an international agency. And I'm sure, as she said, the Ministry of Gambia Women's and Children is working with the Senegalese counterpart. They're even going to sign an MOU. Yes. She didn't tell you that, but I'll tell you that they are going to sign an MOU to work out a lot of issues to correct some of the ills that are affecting our children and women at every level. We are all committed as government. This is not only Senegalese, Gambian, Guinea-Bissau. It's a common problem all over the world, and we are trying to address the problem.
Yes, I think Honorable Ahmad has addressed it adequately.
Yes.
Yes. I don't want to repeat what he has said, He has already addressed it adequately.
Let's hear this guy.
There's going on between Gambia, Senegal, and Guinea-Bissau on this issue. But in the case of unaccompanied children, unaccompanied minors, we're also working with IOM, and these children are returned to their areas of origin. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, Minister Ba.
Yes. Why we are late? Tell me.
Yes. The NDP will soon expire.
Huh?
The NDP.
Soon when? When you say soon means when? Tomorrow?
2021.
Yeah, 2021.
Yes, you have promised us a lot of things. So that.
Tell me one.
That's where I'm going. You promised us that you will have provincial hotels.
Yes.
And then you have told the country recently, you don't tell us any update as to, because you use taxpayers' money. So we expect you to tell us what you have done.
Thank you. So you are not satisfied with what we have done. You want me to update you about building hotels. But I told you we are training youths all over the country to be able to manage these hotels. And I told you that we are going to start construction immediately to build 4 ecologies throughout the country. And we've trained Gambian youths to manage them. Does not satisfy you? Tell me any other thing.
So, importantly, the historical sites, they are in very bad shape.
We know that. Government need to invest money in it. We've made this point very clear. That our historical site, we need to invest money. They were neglected for 50-something years. And this government want to take it up as its responsibility to protect and preserve our historical sites.
So what I'm trying to ask is, it was part of the NDP, and it is coming to expire. So
How much is left in the NDP?
Less than 2 years.
So how much was the NDP?
3 years.
4 years. Yes?
So it was a plan.
4 years. You've gone 2 years. 2 years left. Wait and see. Close to 4 years, you ask that question.
Okay.
Yes. And let me also tell you, tourism and governance are the only ministries that hit 100% of all its targets in the NDP. That the Justice Ministry and tourism were the 2 ministries that hit 100% above their targets on the NDP.
The report has not been issued yet.
Which report? That was the first evaluation of the first year. We are now working on this one. Oh yeah, wait. It's coming. You will get it. You want to get it to make a headline. Don't worry, you'll get it.
Okay, colleague. Yes, my question is going to Honorable Ba.
My friend.
Given the position of the government, regarding this Sun newspaper publication, we want to know the extent of the damage it has caused on our tourism. And my question goes to Mr. Haidara, if there are, guidelines or regulations to screen tourists coming into the country. And Mr. Silla, there are a lot of so many so-called, Western journalists coming to this country. What plans does your ministry have, to screen all these journalists coming to the country to do a story?
Thank you. I think I will leave the issue of journalists to Mr. Silla. And then the issue of damages. We have not ascertained as to how much it has caused damage to us. What is important is to try to deal with the image it's trying to portray our country. The projection is trying to put to the Gambia. That's what we are dealing with. But to tell you that these are the figures that it has damaged so far, we cannot, because the matter may end up in court. I cannot deal with that now. And my statement, I'm coming, my statement may be used in a court case, in future court case. So I will refute from making any comment or statistic on this issue. And I will lay it to rest and no further answer on that issue because it may be subject to a court case.
But does it have any negative impact?
Very bad negative impact. Very, very bad. To the extent of which I cannot tell until we get to the court. The Gambian government will tell how much it damages the economy and what damages it may seek from the newspaper and whatever happened. I don't want to talk on that now. Let the legal experts and the economists, who we have many of them graduating, help us make assessment on that, and then we put it before the court of law.
And Mr. Haider?
No, he has nothing to say on this. Chapter closed. It's dangerous.
On that note, he said... okay. No, he asked the
very dangerous question.
That you have so many fake journalists coming to the country. I have to tell you that my ministry gives accreditation to journalists that have identified themselves through letters coming from their institutions. If you say you are coming from the BBC, we want to see the letter from your head of the institution, we see your passport, we see your press card, and then based on that, if you are coming out, from outside into the country, You even have to specify the type of equipment that you want to use in your assignment, and we list all of that in your accreditation. And when you reach the airport, before you are cleared, you have to show all that. And I think most of you who serve as fixers for the international media are familiar with this. Now, what we are seeing of late is people who are coming without identifying themselves. They engage themselves in some clandestine, work. And it is only when they leave and they publish these stories, then we come to know. It's unfortunate. Sometimes it's difficult to deal with that. And, screening tourists, I don't know whether that is a good idea.
No, let me help you about that.
Yeah, but
we are competing
in this,
let me help you. Let me help you with that. We are all competing in the same market. People who have more money than us. We have only human resource to use little money. There are those with millions of dollars advertisement on CNN every day. And we are all competing in the same market. We cannot engage in screening tourists, but when these tourists get to this country, by a second we can tell who you are, and immediately we start putting eye on you. And that's why you have the police everywhere, as he said, profiling people. Once we see you taking one step, two steps, the police go after you, and then we nip it somewhere. So, but then people coming here, we have even introduced a visa-free regime for most countries, people to be able to come to the country and visit, because that's what other countries have done. Right now, your citizens don't require a visa to come to the Gambia. So you are free to come. And we want to enter your market. So we do not want people to publish stories because they know Gambia is doing well. And they now use people who are unprofessional just to destroy our country because we are competing with them in the same market. So we must understand the strategy as also believing in our country. Why should somebody use an unprofessional journalist to destroy our country for their own interest, develop their own industry?
In fact, so is the story a ploy against your ministry?
It's beyond a ploy against my country. A ploy against my country, not my ministry.
No, in fact, Romain, the French Radio France international correspondent, can bear me witness. The first day he came to my office, we fought, the two of us. We almost, because I told him the letter he had wasn't authenticated, I'm not going to accept it. He had to tell his bosses in France to send another letter. I have to look at it, look at the date, look at everything. And I said, now we are talking business. What happens in France should happen in the Gambia. We should not, just be giving people chances just because they look differently. I can understand the psychology of colonialism. Sometimes people come before you, and the way you think, before you realize it, something very serious has happened. So, not long ago, there was a case involving Al Jazeera and the BBC. It was the same thing. People sometimes come to this country just because it's a poor, third world country, and they expect you to renege in the laws in the way they are enforced. Whereas, if you go elsewhere, even next door Senegal, they are very stringent in their rules, in the accreditation of journalists. And then we, Gambian journalists, we still consider ourselves as journalists, Ibrahim and I put together, and all of you. We should also try to promote this culture where our colleagues coming to this country would also follow the rules. If you have a friend who wants to leave Belgium and report here, and you want to facilitate it, it's okay. But make sure that they follow the law to the letter. And it's all going to help us control all these things. On that positive note from all the...
I have one note.
One more note?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I want to thank you, Mr. Government Spokesman, and then also my colleagues. I think this is an appeal I just want to make. Building the tourism industry is a lot of efforts and resources. But to destroy it takes you a minute to do so. And over 150,000 Gambians who are employed. And the Gambians who are benefiting from tourism today. We cannot play with that. If you are not your brother, your sister, your in-law, your wife, your husband, somebody is benefiting. And it filters down. In the Gambia, when one person works, he feeds minimum 10 people. Therefore, it's our responsibility, all of us together, to guard this industry. Let's not allow people coming from outside do bad things against us, and then we try to multiply that. Everybody you go anywhere in the world, they protect their country. They protect their interests. We can insult each other here as you always do. as I've heard them insulting him every day, insulting me and all others. But that's part of us. We are in our own country. But we should not destroy our country. I think we have nowhere to go other than here. Today, our Gambians who left, they want to bring them back.
Mr. Ba,
Yeah.
It seems you want to control the narrative. Can we disagree on your definition of sexual tourism in the Gambia? Because people coming from abroad to have sex in the
There is no sex tourism in the Gambia.
Yeah, according to...
There is prostitution. There is no... What is international definition of sex tourism? Tell me.
Give it to me. I don't know.
I am telling you it is where sex tourism is sanctioned, organized by the state. And that is not in the case in the Gambia. So your interpretation of sex tourism is wrong if you want to take it to be that. If you tell me prostitution, I will say yes. But sex tourism does not exist in this country because the state does not. Do you have sex tourism in France?
Yeah.
You have the Red District because the state sanctions and licensed them. You have the Red District. You have the sex shops because they are licensed to do that. We don't have them in the Gambia. Do you have a sex shop here? Do you have the Red District here? Because the state does not sanction it. But in your country, it is sanctioned, it is accepted, it is respected by the government, and they allow it to happen. It does not happen in the Gambia. We do not sanction it. Therefore, there is no sex tourism in this country. If you tell me prostitution, I will say yes. No Red District in my country.
You said that one would be convicted for earlier. In your
Who? You said what?
For using the word sex, child sex tourism. You said that earlier.
You said what?
You said that if one uses the word...
No. If you are taken to court, yes. You can be convicted. I'm not a judge. I'm not a judge to determine that you can be, I use the word can be convicted. No. I said you can be convicted.
By using the word child sex.
By accusing this country of that. You are wrong. Because we are not. We can take you to court because sex tourism is where the state sanctions it.
Because, the article is about an allegation that the Gambian government, operates...
We are not.
Or the Gambian people,
It is not my narrative. It is the international acceptance of what sex tourism I'm telling you. That's what I'm telling you. So I want to reiterate to you as Gambians, let's believe in our country. Let's not allow people to come and destroy this country and put us into destitute and poverty. We want to get to another level of this country. And we can only do that when we work together. Let's fight politically. Let's fight internally among ourselves. But when we come to our country, let's defend and protect our country. Let's not allow non-Gambian to dictate how we run and manage the affairs of our country. Regardless of whether I'm minister or whatever I am, or somebody is president or nobody, the Gambia will always remain the Gambia and will always stay as the Gambia. And we need to develop this country. On that note, I thank you and also wish you happy independent anniversary. All of you together. Thank you.
Okay, I have, thank you so much, ministers, the Minister of Women's Affairs, Honorable Kinde, the Honorable Minister of Immigration, and the Minister of Tourism, and the Permanent Secretary, and the Director, and the members of the press corps. I have 14 copies of the press statement. 14 might not be enough, but since sometimes 3 or 4 people are from the same house, I think you can fairly distribute them.
I'll share with this one.
Fair distribution.
Jokoki, call it.
Too quick.
Abroad and want to build your dream home in the Gambia without risking your funds and family ties? Do you want a household name that is trustworthy and efficient? A name that will continue to give you updates on the project from the beginning to the very end with videos and pictures? If your answer is yes, then worry no more. Boss Construction and Asset Management is here for you. If you live outside the Gambia and want to build your dream home, then this is ideal for you. Just reach out to Boss Construction and let's start building the dream home into a reality. With Boss Construction, the difference is clear. We give you value for money. Some of our